Hi, and welcome to, or back to, my channel. I'm Kit, and here we talk about the harmful beliefs and ideas that come from religion, red pill, and so on, except today when we're taking a brief departure from those topics and discussing a fellow YouTuber's incredibly bad takes on the Colleen Ballinger situation. Before we get into it, I would like to thank you for clicking on this video, and I would like to give extra thanks to my patrons. Papa Gut is a YouTuber, and I would say he mainly does commentary live streams. I was subscribed to him a year or two ago, but it gradually became evident to me that his takes were, well, he didn't really seem to have any. I haven't seen his content in a bit, but I was watching Mika's Rhetorics video, The End of Colleen Ballinger's Parasocial Empire, and she alluded to some things Papa Gut said about the situation, and, well, of course I had to go watch. I got about 3 minutes in and decided to make my own video. For anyone unfamiliar with Colleen Ballinger and what's going on, as I was, she's another YouTuber who became famous for creating the channel Miranda Sings. And in 2020, another YouTuber, Adam McIntyre, posted a video exposing her inappropriate behavior with him when he was a young teen. His initial video wasn't well received, but now more things are coming out about her interactions with underage fans. Before we begin, I would like to note that these are my thoughts and opinions, and I did clip the video because I have no interest in listening to speculation about Colleen's real intentions or blame throwing on random people. However, if you want to watch the video in full, it will be linked below along with some other related videos and news articles, including Adam's own video regarding this one. And now, let's get into it.
So it's been 3 days since I posted my very comprehensive breakdown on this Adam McIntyre and Colleen Ballinger situation. I did a huge deep dive. It encompasses Adam's first video from 3 years ago, Colleen's response to that video, then the Cody video, Adam's reaction to the Cody video, and then another video from Adam. I've also since watched a few different videos after this to kind of add to the collection of my thoughts and my perspectives on this. And considering this is 6 hours long, I figured maybe I'll give you guys a little bit of a breakdown about the way that I feel, because to be honest with you, I think that this is a very large example of a narrative that's gone out of control.
He did 6 hours of research, and his takeaway was, this is a narrative that's gotten out of control. Someone's experience isn't a narrative. Someone's reaction to their experience isn't a narrative. And it's not Adam's fault. He's not the only one who's had these interactions with Colleen. Also, I would like to note that he did all this research, but he uses Miranda and Colleen interchangeably. And this whole video seems to exist only because the word grooming was used, and in Papa Gut's mind, grooming can really only be sexual. And also, there's this.
I want you to understand that I do feel for Adam. The biggest part that I feel for Adam, to be absolutely honest with you, is because if there is a trauma there, it's not necessarily because of Colleen, but really the backlash and the outfall, or you know what I'm saying. The fallout is the word I was looking for.
Please do not call into doubt anyone's trauma or the cause of anyone's trauma. And please especially do not do this with people you don't even know. Who is he to say what has or hasn't caused someone trauma? Who is he to tell someone they're wrong about the origin of their trauma?
For the past 3 years, to my understanding, the same people who are now very much in defense of Adam and apologizing to him are the same ones that have bullied and harassed him and broken him down mentally on behalf of Colleen, I guess, despite the fact that I imagine she never told you guys to do this.
Papa Gut imagines she didn't? Why does he believe his imaginings have more credibility than Adam's actual experiences?
I think it's Colleen's privilege that after they had their falling out, she got to disconnect from this situation and no longer was a part of her, at least up until now. But for Adam, this has become a very personal thing that's been festering. And I think that...
He thinks? What is he basing his thoughts on? And again, why does he believe his thoughts should be given more credibility than Adam's actual experiences? Also, Adam is a person, and Papa Gut is going out of his way to assign motives and emotions to him that Adam hasn't claimed, which, to be honest, is weird.
I think that it's because of the irresponsibility of people in, I suppose, whatever community this is. I don't know if it's the beauty community or whatever, the community that tracks how many times Trisha farted or something. I don't really know.
He doesn't really know, but I thought he did his research. And if you're assigning blame and responsibility to a group of people, you should probably know who you're addressing. And if you're wondering what he's referring to, he's talking about the people who are, apparently, responsible for Adam's accurate concerns festering into hate.
I want to be clear, I don't think Adam is lying, but I also don't think that this is accurate.
How gracious. Papa Gut doesn't think Adam is lying, he just doesn't think he's being accurate. And he's basing this on what?
I do question all the people who are saying that they're on Adam's side, and I'm hoping that at least one of them recommended that he see some kind of mental health counselor, because if you truly think that you were groomed, that's the way to go. And that's one of the reasons why, and maybe I'm just wrong in this assertion, but I don't think anybody necessarily cares about Adam, unfortunately. I think that this is really more of just morally grandstanding from everybody else, and really weaponizing Adam's very deep, intimate, hurt feelings. And I mean that in a profound way, and not a way to minimize this, because from what I've seen from him, I've seen a very genuine person expressing a very genuine thing. But it's not grooming.
So he sees a genuine person expressing a genuine thing, though he did just say he doesn't think Adam is being accurate, and he hopes Adam goes to therapy and thinks everyone who believes Adam is morally grandstanding. So is Papa Gut trying to play the devil's advocate here because he thinks too many people believe Adam and not enough are standing up for Colleen, or...
And I have to stand firm on that because I think that we are eroding the seriousness of that accusation.
Yes, there are people who misuse the word groomer. Those are the people who accuse members of the LGBTQ+ community of being groomers because they occasionally exist in some way near children. I agree that it's a serious word and a serious accusation, and the way those people use it makes accusations of grooming less likely to be taken seriously, despite all the talk those same people do about protecting the children. But this is not the way you fight that narrative. By taking someone coming forward about their experiences with a celebrity, micro or not, Colleen had and still has a much larger platform than Adam, and telling them they're wrong, and reducing the issue to just about the word grooming. Everything Adam has said Colleen has done, Papa Gut just figures Adam is mistaken or that people were acting against Colleen's wishes. In his effort to say that Colleen isn't a groomer, he's willing to, in short, throw the baby out with the bathwater. In the pursuit of what? Getting Colleen's former fans to call her an exploiter of children rather than a groomer? Because I have to say, that's not really better. And given his quibbling over the word used, I don't think Papa Gut is taking this seriously. And I suspect that's because Colleen is a woman. Actually, I don't really suspect. I know.
You know what's really interesting is, like, I'm thinking that, like, if from about Colleen, it's not like it's probably nothing really bad. But if it was a man, I would be all over that. I'd be like, because men are gross. I want to first start off with saying that, like, obviously defining grooming, there are multiple ways to define this. The first way is the way that we typically talk about this topic on the internet, which is sexual grooming. It is an intentional, methodical process of manipulating and setting somebody up, a child up, for sexual exploitation. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that's not the type of grooming it is. You don't understand grooming. And I do take offense to that because I do understand it. I understand it deeply.
Well, I guess I'm going to offend Papa Gut because, no, I don't think he understands it at all, let alone deeply. His only definition of grooming is sexual, and if there's no physical sex involved, he can't wrap his mind around how or why an adult could or would groom a child.
And I do. I really try to educate myself on these topics. I know people think it's incredibly cringe, but I have mental health conversations on a daily basis, and I do my best to educate myself on these topics. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that just because my wife is a social worker, that means that I have an educated perspective on this from a college perspective.
Your spouse's profession has no bearing on you. Marrying a doctor doesn't make you a doctor. Marrying a social worker doesn't make you a social worker. I don't understand why he brought this up, but despite his claim to the contrary, I do think he's trying to get some borrowed expertise from, my wife is a social worker, so I know some things. There is literally no other reason to bring that up, even with the disclaimer.
But we do have robust mental health conversations, and these are the topics that they include. And I just want to be clear, that doesn't make me instantly right. But I would say that, especially considering the content that I've made historically, I try to be very delicate about these situations. And I try to be very strong in my opinions, whether they are received publicly or not.
I can't remember any strong opinions he's had, but it's been a while, so maybe I just forgot. And also, you can have as many mental health conversations as you want. That just means you have a good understanding, at least theoretically, of your own mental health and hopefully your partner's. That doesn't make you qualified to diagnose someone, to call someone's statements into doubt, or honestly, to do anything. Just sit and listen. You don't need to defend Colleen. She's an adult. She can defend herself. Or she can do nothing. Her choice either way, but you don't need to run interference.
Anyway, to the sexual grooming part, people will say that they will say, well, it's not sexual grooming, but then they will bring up the inappropriate sexual aspects to this topic. And so let's address that first so that we can say we know for a fact that it wasn't any form of sexual grooming, because it wasn't.
So Papa Gut is not involved in this in any way. He doesn't know either of these people. He doesn't think Adam is lying, but he's going to methodically go through the reasons why people are wrong, and it wasn't sexual grooming, though I don't think anyone was saying it was sexual anyway. There can be a sexual nature to some things without the purpose being an eventual sexual relationship. But naturally, he discounts everything, and again, grooming doesn't have to be for a sexual outcome, though he doesn't seem to understand that. But I think this might be the thing that raised my eyebrows the most.
The lingerie, the same thing. Obviously, she was on a live stream giving away stuff that she didn't want, and she sent it because she thought it was funny. It's not. Especially 6 years after that event happened, it's even less funny. And I want to be clear, because it wasn't funny then, but we have moved rapidly socially over the past 6 years. I would say more so than we have the 50 years before. We are in the age of the internet.
I promise you, we were in the age of the internet in 2017. And for a long time before that.
The age of rapid communication, rapid information, and we are moving very quickly socially. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But what I am saying is that we move fast. And so saying something was acceptable 3 years ago and now it's not, to a lot of people goes, well, that's silly. It was only 3 years. We've moved rapidly. We are in a massive exchange of information.
Okay, I have no patience to keep listening to how the world has changed so much in the past 6 years that in 2017, it would have been okay for a 30-year-old to send lingerie to a 14-year-old. Is he thinking? There was never a time that was okay.
My intent is to come into this completely unbiased. A lot of people are filtering the behaviors of Colleen through her being guilty instantaneously, but that's not how these work. I understand it's a very human thing to do, but that's just not how it works. If you want to get to the root of what's going on and the root of the behavior, you have to be unbiased. You have to set aside your personal frustrations and your personal feelings on a topic, and you have to talk about it like that. If you aren't capable of doing that, that's understandable, but you need to be more aware of your own personal biases. You need to be more introspective. You need to be able to operate. And if you can't, I understand, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'm sorry if I'm coming off as abrasive.
He's not coming off as abrasive. He's coming off as condescending. But really, does he think he's helping? Because his response so far isn't that Colleen didn't do those things, just that it wasn't that bad. And responses like these are why victims don't come forward or don't come forward until long after the fact. Because we are aware that we won't be believed, that people will try to poke holes in our story, that people will try to dismiss what happened as not that bad. But let's remember that he's trying to come at this from an unbiased perspective. And after this, he goes into a story about how grooming isn't inherently bad, from which springs the question.
The point that I'm making here is that grooming is an intentional process to set someone up to do a thing. And what I don't quite understand is, what thing do you think that Adam was groomed into doing? Do you think that Adam was methodically groomed into hearing divorce stories or making content for him? That doesn't really make sense to me, because that isn't grooming. I don't understand the narrative, my best of my understanding, because frankly, it's not very precise or accurate. It's a bit all over the place. Is that Colleen set Adam up for some form of grooming in order to exploit content and his labor out of him, as well as to be a friend in some capacity, I guess. To be honest with you, it hasn't been well defined. That's the best thing that I could come up with, that she groomed him for content.
I would say she groomed him to accept inappropriate behavior from her, but that's just my take on it. And honestly, my take on it doesn't really matter. I am not in the situation, and neither is Papa Gut. And if he's so confused by it, why is he making videos about it?
So I want to ask a question. What do you think should happen to Colleen based on that? Do you think, because the way that you guys are talking about it, whether you intend it or not, is that she needs to lose her children and go to jail. You think Colleen is an unfit mother because of this. That is the proportionality. That would be the proportional punishment to the way that you are talking about this topic is that is what that is.
The internet isn't the judge or jury. We can have as many opinions as we like, but in reality, all we can do is stop watching Colleen, which is no problem for me as I never started, or not support her endeavors, which also is not a problem for me because I never have.
And in an online space that doesn't understand how to define grooming, where we're canceling 19-year-olds for talking to 17-year-olds.
Is he seriously trying to liken canceling 19-year-olds for talking to 17-year-olds to a 30-year-old with a massive platform sending lingerie to a 14-year-old fan? Does he really see no difference?
Where everything is some form of sexual assault.
No one is saying there was a sexual assault, and this is a really disgusting and dismissive thing to say.
I don't think that the online discourse is prepared to talk about this in the right way. That's not to say that there aren't people who are groomed on the internet, because it certainly does happen. But every time this story or stories like this gets pushed as grooming, people sit on the sidelines and go, huh, and they care less about actual grooming victims. That's a fact. That is a fact.
Citation needed. And no, saying it's a fact twice does not make your assertion a source.
Adams, I don't think, is pushing any false allegation, but he happens to be wrong about this when it comes to himself.
I just wanted to leave this in because the hubris in stating someone is wrong about what happened to them is just amazing, and not in a good way.
Regardless of what you want to define as grooming, we need to understand this. There is a difference between being a person that is manipulative and creating a relationship through manipulation to extort something. I think that it's not unreasonable to say that in this inappropriate relationship that Colleen has with Adam, she may manipulate him in some capacity. There's a possibility there.
Manipulation is part of grooming.
I'm sure all of you have had shitty manipulative friends before, but it doesn't mean they created their relationship to manipulate you. They just happen to be people that are manipulative. Now, again, maybe that's Colleen. Possible. I don't know that I've necessarily seen that, but that is very explicitly different from actively grooming someone in some capacity. Because what you're claiming is that she just saw Adam and decided to target this young man, this kid at the time, because she wanted to take advantage of him from the start, when it's more likely that she just had an interaction with her fans because she liked being a micro celebrity. She liked that people liked her. She liked the positive attention, and that is inappropriate because of a parasocial relationship, specifically with young fans.
I like how we're just making up our own stories now. I guess it's my turn, so is Papa Gut friends with Colleen? How would he know what behavior is normal or natural from her? I would say it's more likely that she realized Adam was a big fan and came to realize that he could be manipulated to do things for her. But this is, again, downplaying. How does he figure that deciding to manipulate someone from the get-go is better than doing it after the fact? Also, as the adult, as the micro-celebrity, Colleen had a responsibility to behave responsibly. That doesn't get waved away because, parasocial relationships are so new, and the behavior wasn't wrong just because it was parasocial.
Adam loves Colleen a lot, and I think that he still does. He loved her in the past as a content creator, and I think that he still does, because as I saw a specific tweet on social media, on his Twitter, that is like, I will stop talking about this topic, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he expresses that he will stop talking about this topic if Colleen privately and publicly apologizes. That by itself to a lot of people probably doesn't mean a lot. To me, it possibly signals that he still has a level of, and I'm going to go as far as to say, a possible obsession with Colleen, where it's more about some form of validation from her rather than it is about any kind of an apology or anything like that. Some kind of a recognition.
Some kind of recognition of wrongdoing? Yes, I can understand that, but wanting an apology doesn't mean he's obsessed with her. I really hope Papa Gut stretched before doing all this reaching. He also says some nonsense about how Adam's parents were okay with the relationship, so it must have been fine, right? He also keeps excusing things by saying how different it was 6 years ago. Anyway, after this we get a rundown of the timeline, which leads to this.
You could say, you're being too charitable, Papa Gut. No, I'm not. I'm not being too charitable. I don't care about Miranda Sings. She means nothing to me.
That's probably because Miranda isn't real.
I wouldn't be talking about this topic unless it was being overloaded with a grooming allegation or a grooming narrative, because I think that is toxic to the public hive mind in this conversation.
Oh, okay. The only reason he's been talking about this situation so much is because the word groomer was used, and though he isn't part of the situation, doesn't actually know the people involved, he disagrees that the use of the word is appropriate.
I don't care about Colleen. As far as I'm concerned, she's an irrelevant loser. I don't give a shit about her.
For not giving a shit about Colleen, he sure is doing backflips to give her the benefit of every doubt. And like Papa Gut, I have to be honest. Yes, grooming is used too lightly these days, especially by politicians, but in this situation, trying to say Colleen was just manipulating Adam, not grooming him, is grooming not manipulation? Is his only objection that since Colleen wasn't trying to sleep with Adam, the word grooming shouldn't be used? Anyway, from here, Papa Gut moves on to the hit piece against Adam that Cody created, and apparently that's the root of everything. It has nothing to do with Colleen. And I have to say, Papa Gut trying to guess at Colleen's actions and imagining her feelings and motivations is strange.
Cody is a primary problem in this situation. Cody is a representation of the hate and vitriol that was rained down upon Adam for the past 3 years. Cody is the primary problem, and if you aren't going to take accountability for you supporting Cody's narrative unintelligently and ignorantly for the past 3 years based on her hit piece on Adam, at the very least, instead of blaming Miranda, blame Cody because she's the shitty person. But frankly, there's a bit of blame for all of you who, again, were eating up Cody's narrative for the past 3 years. There's blame for all of you because while I didn't see Cody's video because it's impossible to see, I guarantee you, based on the way that you guys seem to interact with social situations and social narratives, you probably massively, disproportionately shit on a young man, a boy at the time, who was just expressing a frustration because he was in an inappropriate parasocial friendship with a large content creator that he loved a lot, and it ended because she's kind of a bitch. And that's really what happened here. And you guys took it and you ran with it and you shit on this poor kid for 3 years and you put him into a situation where now he has so many emotions surrounding this whole entire topic that he is spiraling out of control. And when this entire thing ends, he's not going to feel good.
So, to be clear, Colleen is a bitch, but this is actually everyone else's fault because Cody made that video and people believed her. Obviously, no one should have been harassing Adam, especially not for years, but Colleen shouldn't have been engaging in private conversations with her very young fans. I have been 15. I have been 30. There is no good reason for a 30-year-old to be discussing her divorce with a teenage fan. There is no good reason for a 30-year-old to be sending a 14-year-old fan lingerie. The age difference is massive. The power imbalance is massive. And there is no way Colleen didn't know that. And Papa Gut is trying to shuffle accountability off Colleen and onto anyone in her general vicinity because the word grooming was used and he doesn't think it applies?
He's going to continue to feel shitty and isolated because none of you are actually his friends. You're all opportunistic individuals who are just trying to latch yourself onto the situation and come off as some kind of a moral, virtuous, righteous, good guy because now you're on the right side. Sorry, I made this horrible mistake that had mentally distressed you for the past 3 years. I'll make up for it by saying it's grooming. No problem, Adam. That's not how things work. That's not how friendships work. And that's not how mental health works. Over-validating somebody's feelings, I know that sounds harsh, is destructive, just as destructive as under-validating their feelings.
From this rant, am I supposed to understand that people are calling Colleen a groomer to over-validate Adam's feelings after years of not believing him? I have doubts. And this fake sympathy for Adam, dude, no. You don't know him and you're not doing this video to help him out, so just don't even go there.
You guys don't have a primary focus of Adam. Your primary focus is how you feel about the situation. Primary focus is Adam. He's the true victim in this situation, and most of the people who are now over-validating him were the ones under-validating him, and you are just setting him up for a cyclone of emotions. I think it's disgusting. I think it's pathetic, and if you're going to call anything predatory, that's what that would be. It's not, but certainly more predatory than anything Colleen did.
The people over-validating Adam now were the ones under-validating him in the past, and if anything is predatory, it's that. But it's not. But it's more predatory than anything Colleen did. What?
At the end of the day, this is clearly a situation where Colleen is acting inappropriately. But there is online hysteria that doesn't know how to separate inappropriate behavior from some form of predatory behavior. Even if you think that Colleen is a manipulative person, again, we need to understand and state that there is a difference between getting into a relationship with somebody explicitly to manipulate them and to guide them in a particular direction versus being friends with somebody or being interactive with fans and having them do favors in a way that you might perceive as manipulative. But even in that case, even if she did just become friends with Adam to send him in the direction of, hey, go interact with this drama resource or go get me content from here, that still, in my opinion, isn't an accurate label of grooming.
I have so many thoughts. At the end of the day, the amount of times he said, I assume, should have been a sign to him that he shouldn't be making this video. Come to think of it, using Colleen and Miranda interchangeably should have been a sign he shouldn't be making this video. I really like how he repeatedly acknowledged that Colleen was behaving inappropriately, but apparently not inappropriately enough. I also really like how he said if people really cared about Adam, they would tell him to go to therapy, which is amazingly condescending. The only reason Papa Gut did this video is because Colleen was called a groomer and he disagrees. And the reasons for his disagreement are made-up scenarios about what Colleen was thinking and feeling and imaginary motivations. And I have to admit, I'm more inclined to trust Adam, who was the one affected by Colleen and actually knew her, and not Papa Gut, who thinks the word groomer is being used inappropriately because, well, I'm not really sure. Colleen probably, and I'm sure Colleen just doesn't convince me. Neither do his attempts to shuffle blame onto everyone except Colleen, because he's sure she's really just a nice, respectful woman who's a bit of a dumbass that doesn't understand boundaries. I would like to note that Papa Gut invited Adam onto his channel to chat about the situation because Papa Gut has a differing opinion and I am just amazed by the gall. And for the last time, Colleen is 36 years old. She's been an adult for 18 years and she knew what she was doing. She was not some innocent doe just trying to make her fans happy by interacting with them. Adam is not the only person to discuss her behavior, but I'm sure Papa Gut will figure out ways to say they're mistaken, and Colleen really was just insert excuse here. Since filming this video, Colleen has responded, kind of. I'm not really sure what to call it. Basically, she made a mistake, but it's also misinformation, and a ukulele is involved. But you know, in general, I don't think Colleen is a good person, and I hope this time she'll have to confront her behavior.
What do I know? Fuck me, right?
However, I'm not feeling too hopeful. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.